Grand Rising loves. This is the altar spread for the collective today. And so let's talk about what showed up for today. The sacred geometry that showed up for today is Steam Cave. But if you see, it's actually the upward pointing triangles linking with the downward pointing triangles, creating the star tetrahedron. And so, what does that mean? The upward pointing triangles are the male energy. This is the directive energy of wind and fire and the sword. And the downward grand rising, Jessica, and the downward pointing triangle represents the feminine energy, the chalice, the water and earth energy. But the steam cave representing the star tetrahedron is all that is. And so today you are being asked to be aware of all that you are made of, to look beyond and deeper than all of the experiences and the material objects, to see the actual elemental makeup of everything, the water in everything, the wind in everything, the earth and the fire. And then you can start to see the sacredness of union. When you start to see how everything is so cohesively brought together, you gain this deep, deep respect for everything that is. And you can begin to become connected to all that is. Not seeing anything as outside of yourself. It is actually just you, because our true self extends far beyond our earth suit. Our earth suit is what limits us only in the mind, but we extend far beyond that. So all of this is not empty. That is also energy. And so my energy can be pushed through this space, and I can connect with fire that is there, that I'm not even touching. And so if I sit here and open my heart now and say, Brother Fire, thank you for illuminating my altar. Thank you for communing with me in this space. And I can actually start to feel its warmth growing within my chest, and my solar plexus, which actually houses my very own fire energy, is incited in that communion. And I can actually feel that within myself, this vessel that holds water, and the stones that represent earth for me, and the feathers that represent air, but also every breath I take, pulling in the sacred power of wind into my very own body. And so I want you today, because the steam cave showing up wants you to do this, wants you to see how the elements are part of everything that exists in your space. Even this beautiful altar made of wood is still a vibrating frequency of energy. And so I thank this altar for being the anchor in my sacred space, for a place for me to come and sit my temple and deeply commune with self, but also holding all of my sacred items. And I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. And so the blade is what we wield. And so the blade can represent a weapon, or the blade can represent a tool. And so the blade pointing upright is a proclaiming, it's a reclaiming, it's directive, right? The upward pointing triangle, it's masculine energy. I'm claiming this. If you point the blade downward, it becomes receptive, and you are actually anchoring energy, pointing it down. But the blade can also be used to irrevocably sever cords and ties that are no longer serving you. But also, like I mentioned yesterday, cords and ties can be created with those that we love so deeply Just the thought of you saying, I want to take their pain, creates an energetic tie to that person. And then you rob them of the deeper experiences to heal. And so keep your relations clear, but also know that everything is you. And so the steam cave asks you to recognize that, to be so aware of that today, and to not be willy-nilly with the blade, to be very decisive and deliberate with the blade. Are you claiming, or are you using the blade as a tool or a weapon? And use it as a sacred tool. Use it as a sacred tool always. And so water showed up, and I love that water showed up again today, because it showed up yesterday. If you remember from this deck, water showed up. But also it's echoing this because water teaches us so much. Water is the only element that actually holds every single sacred geometry that exists. Like, wow, magnified, right? But it's also been scientifically proven to actually hold memory. And water is ancient. Like the same water that they're swimming in the Amazon River is the same water that you are drinking out of your glass today, is the same water that someone in Rio is showering in, is the same water that they are fishing in the Mediterranean. So all water is connected. And it is the only element also that it can exist in every form. Gas, solid, liquid. It is so phenomenal. And it still holds that memory. It still holds that memory. And if you think about how it falls in the sky, and if it freezes, it turns into this beautiful crystalline snowflake, but yet its path is not thwarted, falls to earth, and it's still, but it is unchanged. It sits in that space until it is warm enough to then sink into the earth, nourish the earth, and then return when it is vaporized, when the earth heats. It is all purifying, just as our tears through emotion are purifying. But water teaches us so much. How to continue to move even when we are met with obstacles. Even when we are met with obstacles, to continue to move, to observe. That's my son, it's not the Rona. Anyhow. And so water, special water, I have a new batch of the Lunaflor. I make a batch every full moon. And so there's a fresh batch this morning from the beautiful full moon last night. And I actually made a double batch this full moon. So if you are interested, please contact me. Lunaflor is my version of the Florida water. And there's a lot of intention that I put into it. It's all organic. And Florida water is a spiritual cleanse and also protecting water. So let me know if you're interested. So Ajna Durga showed up, and we've seen her before, the power of good. And it reminds you that everything is for you, not to you, but you are not alone. And good will always prevail. So it really asks you, one, to commune with self today, to wield the blade as a tool, not a weapon, to heed the messages that water gives us, and to know that inherently everything is good. Inherently everything is good. So there is nothing to fear. There is nothing to be anxious for. There is nothing to worry about. When you stay so unwaveringly present, there exists no other thing but bliss, deep communion, joy. That's the purpose of the human experience, for us to have such pleasure and delight in being human, to bring the embodiment of love frequency that we are in our truest form through the biological suit and into this plane of existence, where every experience exudes that love and joy. We need to stop re-traumatizing ourselves and wash and purify ourselves clean of those experiences. That's expired shit. That's expired shit. So that is the spread for today. Thank you for joining me, all of you beautiful souls. I love you. And I am sorry for any part of discord that I myself have created. Please forgive me. Thank you. Thank you.